What's up, Norberg Nation? Today we are going to be reviewing my Las Vegas Super Nationals race. Some of you guys might have already seen that already or watched the video already, but today we are going to be reviewing it and going over kind of the strategies I used to the race and basically what I did wrong that I should have done differently that maybe would have changed the outcome a little bit, right? Maybe would have made it a little bit better for me during that race. A little bit of a different background right now, as you guys know. I've been moving a little bit, so we're in a little bit of a different area, but let's get right into this review and see where we could have done a little bit better. Okay, so we're starting this race in second position. We're on the outside, and we already know that we're probably gonna have to give up a lot of spots on the start. Hopefully not too many, but the thing that you have to remember in races like this is that the race is super, super long. And so if you get yourself out of the race at the beginning of it, there's nothing to do. So you want to try to stay in the race. So at the beginning of this race, going to this first corner, I already know probably not going to be the best spot to be in, and I'm just going to try to let the people go that need to go and stay in the fight. So right now I come down, I kind of pinch the guys to the inside. Like I said, that inside row gets a good run. I go a little deep on the brakes, but right now I'm looking over to the left, and you can see that I'm just trying to slot in to a spot. Now I get to this point. You can see I start to open up a little bit. That's because I looked back and saw that I had some breathing room that I could open up for the corner. The thing that kept happening in this corner was that when you'd go into the second corner, everybody would stack up and just nail each other, and you'd end up losing a bunch of spots because you'd either get like turned sideways or you'd get a pushback and you'd have to fight that in the end. And so I didn't want to do that, so I kind of opened up a little bit and gave myself a little bit of space for the next corner. Now we head into the corner a little bit, and you can see the driver gets a really good run around the outside there, and we end up losing a spot. Again, it's early in the race. The biggest problem right there was that when he went around the outside, obviously it kind of opened up a lane for the drivers on the outside of me, and I had to pinch the exit, and then I ended up losing a spot. And right here, we fall back. We're like into the fifth position, just kind of in damage control right now. We lose another spot. We're into sixth. We started second, now we're into sixth. And so really, we really just want to try to kind of manage this spot that we're in right now. We don't want to lose too much. And again, when you start these races, they're so long that you have to have a strategy and you have to know what you're doing going into this race. And so our strategy was, let's wait to the end. And with that strategy, you have to be very, very, very patient in the beginning because you're going to take hits in this sense. And it's not a sense of like people are going to actually knock you off, but you're going to go back. And I knew I was going to go back early in the race, and so I figured let's just try to stay calm. We got into a spot where we could kind of stop the bleeding. We opened up for this corner. We're able to just kind of stay in position. But at this point, we're in a decent spot. We don't want to just make any stupid mistakes, fall back even further, and get ourselves out of it. If we can get a run on any of these drivers, we're going to try to make some passes. But for now, let's just try to stay in this lead pack of guys and really try not to lose this group. As the race goes on, they're going to start racing harder. Right here, I get a run on the 58. They all defend. And again, we're kind of stuck just at the back of this group. The thing is, behind us, there's definitely a group of guys that are, wanting to go forward. Right there, obviously, I looked to the inside, didn't get the run, decided better of it. Maybe as we get down to this back corner here, I could go for one. Again, just kind of lost it a little bit, but that's just mainly because we're lower on the tire pressure, right? I wasn't able to carry as much speed as I wanted to that first corner. And so again, just trying to stay calm, stay with everybody. Done this race many times. I know these races are a lot longer than you think. And, early in this race, you're nervous. You want to go forward. You want to make something happen. You see the drivers in front of you kind of pulling away or whatever, and those nerves get to you. And the best thing you can do is kind of just relax and stay in control and just run the race. Right here, 58 goes the inside. I follow him through. It's a pass on my teammate. I knew he would probably give me the position. The only reason I went for that, it was a little bit more aggressive, was you guys can kind of tell a little bit earlier that there's like shadows behind me. Those are the other drivers. They're coming through. They're right there as well. So there's some drivers behind us that maybe they're not in the best position to pass me, but I don't want to give them the opportunity that they can even get to the inside of me. And so in that instance, it was like, okay, we've got an opportunity. We can make a pass. Let's go. That's the thing about this race is this track. The track was really tight, and it really was hard to make passes. So whenever an opportunity does open itself up, you got to go for it. You can't be overly aggressive early in the race, but you definitely want to go for it early so that you can, again, stay with this lead pack. That's the only goal I have right now is like, let's stay with the lead pack and let's try to just make ourselves into a spot where we're in a position for the end of the race. So a couple laps have gone by and we actually lost time on the lead drivers. It just played out that I really wasn't pacing that fast to pick up. But again, we didn't put ourselves in a bad spot to where they started racing like this. We're able to take advantage of opportunities. Right now, again, I kind of got caught on the outside of the group. You know, they all kind of wash out wide, and I tried to do the switchback. That's something I should have known earlier, you know, going into that race, that spot never works out because it's two right-handers afterwards. You're never going to get the spot. But what I'm seeing now is like, okay, I didn't get the position on these guys. I wasn't able to like accelerate past them on the exit. Right now, I got closer to them, but the guys behind me also got closer to me. That's why I'm blocking going to that last corner. But I know now I have pressure on the guys behind me, and I need to either make a decision to go by these drivers or I'm going to get past. And right here, this is where, you know, I don't make a pass. I stayed back, and it cost me one spot, right? It was my teammate, so I'm fine going through, you know, with him going through, but it's still a position we lost, right? We don't want to be going back that far. We want to try to stay with the group. And, you know, even though we were able to move up one position basically from the first lap, after that our momentum is really stalled out and we haven't been able to go forward. And losing one spot like this could be the thing that starts to turn the tides in the wrong direction and you start going backwards and backwards and backwards. And that's something we really don't need at this point. We want to stay going forward. And so when we lost a spot, I think we had some space behind us, but got to try to just let him through, get back in, and see if we can make some moves forward because we really need to start going forward at this point. So you see there, just not a great exit. You know, he kind of passed me late, which is all good, but I didn't get a good exit out of it. Luckily, they're still racing hard, and it's bringing me back into the fight. And so in this moment, I just got to stay calm. And right there, you see that the drivers raced a little bit, and they kind of, you know, switched each other back. There's a guy stuck on the outside with some slow momentum. I was able to pick up one. But this is the thing about Las Vegas and these races. When opportunities come up, you have to take them. So every time when there's a racing situation and drivers are switching back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, you've got to be ready to go in an instant. There can be no hesitation. And this right here was a perfect example of that. As we come up into this corner, you can see the drivers are side by side, right? And this just isn't going to go super great. So either one of two things is going to happen. They're going to hit each other and slide wide, or somebody's going to get, you know, messed up in this scenario and be very slow. So as we go into the corner, you can see my teammate there got a little bit sideways, jumped the curb, and that allowed an opportunity for us to go to the inside and make the pass, right? And so this changed our momentum drastically in this race. And again, you see these guys in front of me racing as well. So we went from losing a spot at the beginning of this lap to now up 2 positions. So our momentum has shifted drastically and we're able to start going forward. But that's all because we're on the trigger, ready to go at all times. And right here we come out of this corner, the 97 got a little bit wide, you know, because he was racing the 58, and that allowed us again to get another spot. And the nice part about this is that when you're at the front of the field, it's not always the same at the back of the field, but when you're at the front of the field, all the drivers are wanting to win the race, and they're all wanting to go chase down the leader. So if we're going to race, they know it's going to take us out of it, and really no one is here to finish second. And so at that point, it's like, you know, we can see the gap is huge now to the front guys, and we've got to get our head down and work together. Now, we got straight, right? We're going in the right direction, but these 2 guys have been fast all week. We just can't let them get away. And so at this point, you know, I obviously signaled to the driver behind me, like, let's work together. He's willing to do it, and so at this point, it's my turn to not make any mistakes and just chase down these front guys. And I'm hoping right now, because, you know, we're, you know, racing this whole race, and I've noticed our speed differences, and obviously I wasn't the fastest of the group, right? Like 2 laps before this, I was the one losing positions. So me being at the front of this with these long straightaways and these long corners, I'm like kind of concerned for the fact that I might not be the fastest. Now, we have a different strategy. We're lower on the tire pressure. We're coming through the field. So I also have that in the back of my mind of like, let's try to just focus in on the strategy and just hit my marks and try to stay ahead of these guys, because hopefully they're a little bit higher in the pressure and they're starting to fall off where I'm starting to turn it on. As we go through this, I think, it takes a couple more laps, but eventually we do catch the front guys. So after a couple laps had gone by, I think, we're nearing the end of the race here, and I pushed really hard to get to these guys because they had raced a little bit and that brought us in closer, but I gave it everything I could to catch up to these guys. And we're here, but we're not in a great spot to do anything with it. Right now, we're in a little bit of a different, I would say, gearing than the other guys that we're competing against. It's just kind of awkward in where I'm faster and where they're faster. And so what that's doing is the number 52, basically, right now he knows I'm close enough to make a pass. And so what he's going to do is come in there, right? And so every time I get an opportunity to make a pass, the 58 can hear me coming, and he'll just close the door a little bit. The thing about this racetrack that was frustrating as a racer was that whenever you would hear somebody getting close to you, you'd drive narrow. And that's something that I did, and that's something that every driver did, is whenever they would hear a driver get close, they drive narrow. And there's not much you could do about it because the driver in front of you really doesn't lose that much time, and then you're just kind of stuck, in a defensive spot as well, where now you have to drive a little bit more narrow. And so as the laps are getting down, right, I'm going into turn number 1 as hard as I can, as deep as I can, and I'm trying to make up as much time as possible. I'm trying to get to the 52, and hopefully, he doesn't defend one lap, and that gives me the opportunity to make the pass. Right now, though, it's just a stalemate. We're just stuck in this spot. You go through these fast 90-degree corners, and you just kind of get caught out in the fact that there's just not a lot of grip. You get a lot of aero wash at these fast racetracks, and so when you go through those fast corners, you really can't do a whole lot. And see there again, you can see I get a little bit closer, and the guy can hear the engine coming, and he just drives just a cart length narrow. And I'm not in a position where I can really send it up the inside unless I have a super run, and I just never really do. Right now we're all kind of at a stalemate. He keeps accordioning with the leader, though. The leader makes a couple mistakes and brings us close, and then he'll stretch it back out, and then he'll make a mistake or something. And so we just keep getting this accordion effect, which kind of hurt me, honestly, because if the 52 was on its own and just didn't have a draft, I think I could have been able to make a pass, and he probably would have been able to, or more willing to give it up, just because when you see the leader starting to, go away, again, we're all not here to finish second. So if he would have seen the leader starting to get away, he probably would have been a little bit more willing to lose a spot to see if I can go attack the leader. But at this point, again, he loses them and then we close, and then he loses them and then we close. And so it's always this back and forth that never really, materializes into much. And then as we get to the end of the race, I think there's a moment where I do come out of the last corner because the leader does block. And so I get a good run coming out of the last corner, and, it materializes into essentially nothing. I get a good run coming out of the last corner. This is onto the white flag, so obviously he's going to defend. We go all the way down to the inside. Really, again, now I'm looking into this turn number 2 section over here. He defends all the way down to the inside. Right now, the race is over for us for the win, right? The leader's gone. I get a driver that goes to the outside of me, kind of just, drift out wide and make sure he doesn't get a good run. Right here, I clipped the curb, and what that did was similar to what happened earlier for me, where I clipped the curb and washed wide. As soon as I clipped the curb, I knew I've got to come down and close that door as soon as possible, because I already, was on the other end of it. So when I did that, I came down, the driver was already there, and we just kind of made contact, and he trailered over my bumper a little bit, and yeah, that was basically the end of the race. We finished second, we finished third on track, but after the race, we ended up second. So, all in all, I really think the thing that hurt our race was going back so far on the start. Obviously, we had a bad start, and that didn't help us. And knowing the strategy, I thought it was going to be okay, and we were going to be fast in the end, and we would stay with that lead pack, and in the end, we'd have so much more of an advantage on the pace that we'd be able to take advantage of the other drivers. that didn't happen. We didn't have that pace advantage at the end of the race. And so what happened was I had to work really hard in the middle of the race to get by everybody and then to close the gap that I really just kind of ate all the tires up. So by the time I actually did get there in the end, we were basically the same as everybody else. And so we fell back in the beginning, and that really was, I think, what hurt us. And then me playing it a little bit too cool in the sense of I was trying to play the strategy well, and you know, that just didn't end up paying out. And so it is what it is. This is Vegas. You know, when you're racing for 25 minutes and you know you're sitting on the grid and your heart rate is high, there's a lot of things that go through your head. And you know, I always try to stick with my strategy, and I think to an extent that hurt us. I think if I were to be a little bit more open to different, you know, possibilities, maybe being a little bit more aggressive and really not trying to play the long game so much, I think it would have rewarded us a little bit better. But overall, you know, that's how it is. That's racing. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and this one wasn't our time to win. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys learned something from this video, and it showed you guys a little bit of the insight that a professional go-kart driver has when they're racing at, you know, the biggest race in the world. Once again, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Again, I'll see you guys in the next video.